And domestic violence does not discriminate. And when I say that, I mean, I don't care if you're in a poor socioeconomic class or if you're wealthy.
I am Hayzel Green, an inquisitive, unapologetic, voluptuous introvert who blooms and blossoms behind closed doors. This is my podcast, a platform where I will discuss my writings and where I will bring to light conversations with my good girlfriends, sisters, brothers, and homeboys about love, life, music, and most importantly, sex. So leave your judgment at the door and welcome to Hanging Out with Hayzel.
It's Hayzel, baby!
Hey girl. What are we going to be talking about?
We are actually here to kind of chat about something that's very important.
Okay.
I have some friends. I don't know if I should say they're survivors. Yeah, I guess they would be survivors of domestic violence. There are so many people out here that I know who are currently going through relationship issues where I'm not going to say they're battered. They're in a relationship where their partner is being violent.
Okay.
I used to date this guy, and although he's never tried any of that with me, around the time that I met him, he was going to court for domestic violence. And it was weird to hear his story.
I think what's important, the knowledge is power. And when we have information, it can assist us with, having the power to know things. Domestic violence is domestic violence. Rather, it's the man doing it, the woman, the cat, the dog, the rat, or the mice. Because it's been so, I guess you could say in many ways domestic violence has had a man's face on it. And I'm not saying that they don't do it, because anybody can do it. The first thing, that I want to make clear is what the definition of, one is the definition of domestic violence, and the other is intimate partner violence, because now they're a little more politically correct. They're coming around, like you say, it looked like only the man was doing it. The definition of domestic violence is abuse. And when we talk about abuse, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be sexual, verbal, financial, and I like to add another one in called spiritual abuse, okay? And anytime we're using any one of those 5 or I'll say 6 types of abuse, and we're using it to maintain power and control over another in a relationship, that's what we call the working definition of domestic violence. Most of the time, people only get arrested for probably the physical, but it starts with the verbal, the emotional, and it escalates. That's usually when people get arrested at that point of when bruises, some type of injuries, etc., etc. I'll give you the intimate partner violence so that we could be a little more, politically correct today. So intimate partner violence and other forms of adult, family, and relational violence, relationship abuse, relationship violence, dating abuse, and domestic abuse. Intimate partner described as physical, sexual, and or psychological or emotional harm by a current or former intimate partner or spouse. According to the National Institute of Justice in 2019, this type of violence can occur across any age, any ethnicity, any gender, and economic lines, and among people with disabilities, and among both heterosexual and same-sex couples. So I know that second definition was a little wordy, but those are the 2 definitions. Once we know, then we'll know what we're working with.
Okay, so let me go back to an incident that I can think of. If anybody knows me, they know I've had horrible relationships. Horrible. There was an incident where he had more bruises on him than I did. I'm not saying I had any black eyes, but it most definitely was a scuffle. When the police came and they looked at me, and then they looked at him, and they just immediately was like, oh, you going to jail. Who going to jail? You. And they took me and they put me in handcuffs, and I was like, why am I going to jail? Oh, you're going to jail for domestic violence. And I'm like, oh shit. Luckily, he told the police, look, don't take her to jail, because she has to take care of her children, our children, whatever. He saved me from going to jail. He didn't think that it was as escalated as the police attempted to be. When you were going back and you were talking about your definitions, thinking about the verbal and the emotional, which leads to the physical, those escalation points are very important. If 1 and 2 wasn't evident, then there would have never been a physical. So it has to have something, right?
Okay, yes.
It has to have something that is festering somewhere, unless you just totally have a person who don't need those escalation points, just have issues, and they just like hitting on people.
Well, one thing I say is that during our formative years, we observe a lot of things. When we're small, we're young, and you may have had the type of parent who may have said, if somebody hits you, you hit them back. Or you may have had a parent that said, if somebody hits you, you hit them back, but maybe exclude, don't hit no women, don't hit no girls. Or you may have had somebody that said, hey, go tell the teacher. Don't hit back, make sure you tell the teacher. But things have changed today. No tolerance for bullying. Things that people, quote unquote, maybe used to get away with, they don't get away with like they do anymore. They're ready to put you out, do you away. No, you're going to be expelled from school. This is going to happen. We don't have this on our job scene or whatever the case may be. And now, because the numbers have escalated, if police come to your house, somebody's going, because they don't want to come back. Years ago, it used to be if the police came to your house, they may have said things. If you think about it, years and years ago, we had more traditional roles amongst men and women. And the police may come and, he may see a woman laid in the floor. He might see a few blood marks, and he might be like, hey, everything okay in here? And if the man said, yeah, he may not have done a further investigation of it. But now, because people are getting killed, they're taking it more serious. It used to be like, hey, you running your house? Everything okay? Things of that nature happened in the past, but now they call somebody's going because they don't want to come back later, and something has happened that has escalated into something where they'll be at fault if they come back.
Worse than it was when they were there the first time.
Yes, or somebody done died or got hurt. So nobody wants to wake up. No police officer, no judge, nobody say, hey, I done let this person out of jail. Now they done went and did this and caused harm to someone. Because we hear stories all the time now. You turn on the news, I can barely watch the news anymore.
Oh yeah, and I don't watch it at all. Nah.
Right. And understand, domestic violence does not discriminate. And when I say that, I mean, I don't care if you're in a poor socioeconomic class or if you're wealthy. It does not discriminate. Only difference might be the lower socioeconomic group, they tend to utilize their resources of the police officer. Higher economic social class, they might be like, okay, I'm about to take half. We call them the attorneys, So sometimes, the response to how it happens, and it's always, in my experience, I actually work with males who've been convicted of domestic violence, and they're made to go through a program in which they have to be taught rules. And I hear so many stories. And they're like, I'm not the aggressor, she is, And it's, I believe it. But,
really?
And they always say, yeah. I mean, I believe some of them. Let me be clear. I believe some of them, because women are very aggressive too.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I most definitely could testify to that because I know myself. And if someone pushes me to a certain point, my first response after whatever that level is to hit. So that's why I said the first time in that first story that I'm sure I am the one that hit first. And I try, and I know this is I don't know if this is a cop out or whatever it is, but when I tell you I try to maintain a sense of calmness, but when I keep looking, and it's like, why? Well, see, first of all, it's my fault because I'm gonna let you keep fucking with me. So if I don't walk away, then it wouldn't happen. So I get that. But I'm a glutton for whatever that punishment is, and I stick around. I'm pissed off to a level where I just want to put my hands on you. And I know that is so sad. So I agree with you when you say that there are some women that are aggressors. I believe that. Absolutely. Because I'm one of them.
There are.
I'm one of them. Shh. What?
Okay.
I'm one of them.
Yeah. But you know what? We as men and women, we really do have to. We have to start respecting our mates in terms of. I call it door blockers. We have a lot of women who are door blockers.
Oh, what's that?
The man is trying to leave the house because it's an escalated incident. It's just at a verbal state. He's trying to leave the house. Miss Ma'am gonna stand in the door and say, "No, you're not going nowhere. We gonna talk about this, and we gonna talk about this now." You know.
Guilty. I'm guilty. Now? I'm guilty. Go ahead. Keep going.
And so what I'm saying, we as the man, we as the woman, we have to respect and say, you know what, he's upset right now. Let me let him go ahead and cool off. We have to respect the way how people handle their anger. So in other words, let's just say, your man say he could count to 10 and he cool. He can go to a room, count to 10, do a little 60 seconds of deep breathing, and he cool. He done calm down. But woman, okay, she like, I got to count to 100,000, okay, and I'm gonna need a little more time. I'm gonna have to count longer. That deep breathing don't work for me. I got to do something else. And know this. Like, so if your man it doesn't take him much to calm down. Okay, fine. Because when two people are both mad and it's at an escalated height, nobody's gonna do nothing but go to jail probably that night. But if you say, okay, let me let him go walk around the block or whatever, and calm down a little bit and think about it, and when he come back, okay, or and he knows his boo thing, it take her a while. He might have to go spend the night over mom's house, sister's house, or sleep in the basement that night until, y'all are both calm enough to come back to the situation. Because what's important is that whatever made you all upset, that you address it. Don't sweep it up under the rug.
So good. That sounds good, but realistically,
yeah. Go ahead.
Realistically,
go ahead.
You know what? I just don't let things. I know. Am I confessing? I'm serious.
I like that. I like that.
Sometimes I can okay, but later on tomorrow or something come across my mind and I'm heated all over again. Like, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we gonna get this together.
So let's go a little deeper. Okay. What I like is that you were able to acknowledge that. That's good. That's great. Okay. And then you said, I got to get this together. So you're willing to work on it. Okay. And sometimes how we may have observed our parents react, how we may have observed, aunts and uncles or grandma and grandpa react. We think that that's right because we think, hey, that's my dude, that's pop, we think that this is right, and not knowing that sometimes we have not always had the best examples or role models to teachers how to operate in a relationship, and that's okay. Because when we know better, we do better. Okay? So, we have
I didn't grow up in a household like that. My household, trust me, it was serene. There was with my dad growing up, no arguments. Like none. And if it was, you most definitely didn't know about it. As an only child, I was always around. They didn't get into it at all.
Okay.
Where I get this lightweight anger, this anger issue, I have no idea where I got it from because I didn't have a violent family.
That's good.
Yeah, my family was cooler than the polar bear's toenail.
Okay. Well, then we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, I got issues.
You got to think. But you know what? We all have issues, and we all have some dysfunction in us, in our families, or whatever. I had a gentleman that said to me one time, he told me he observed his parents fight all the time. That he said that when he got older, when he turned 18, and the first time he hit a woman, he went back to his dad and was like, "Yes, Dad, I did it. I did what you showed me." And his dad felt so bad.
Wow.
When his son came to him and told him that he felt really bad about how he had, been an example, always beating on his mom in the house. But, it could be, sometimes we just got to figure out, hey, where's this anger coming from? What am I upset about? Or what's going on with me? Why do I think I got to fight? Why do I think this, especially, like you say, this is not something you observed growing up. So that's not the reason that you feel the need to do things. And sometimes, it could be some individual counseling or something. Sometimes it could just be, I believe, what Oprah say. Oprah say, Gail saved her a lot of money in counseling, just being able to have a good friend to talk about things, somebody that you can trust, personal, intimate information, kind of peel back some layers.
Most definitely.
Say, hey, what's going on? And, we've all, like you say, it could have been maybe some boyfriend, in the past. And, it may not have been like physical abuse, because a lot of people, and I always tell people, when it comes to physical and emotional abuse, that black eye is eventually going to heal, okay? That bruise is eventually going to heal. But those words that we hear, it's hard to get that out of our head. Somebody calling you ugly, fat, telling you no good, you're a bad mother, saying things of that nature. Those are things that, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. When people say things like that, I mean, it could be something. The example that I like to use is if you think about high school, or not even high school, elementary school, and you could have had a teacher that said, you know what, you're going to be the greatest person in the world. Or you could have had a teacher tell you, you're not gonna be no good because, you're always acting up in school and blah, 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 blah. And those words we still remember. Now, when we fell on that bike and hit our knee, we're like, whoa, it healed up. I don't even remember that. You know what I'm saying? So the effects of that mental abuse, emotional abuse, last a lot longer than the physical sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Unless it's just a severe injury.
I know. I think the favorite word in my household most definitely was bitch. It's funny that I can affectionately say it to my friends, like, what's up, bitch? What's up? Whatever. But when somebody says it with anger, or they say it to humiliate you, it's a totally different word. And yeah, I agree with you 100%. Those words are lasting. They form judgment. And then again, it takes you, depending on what type of things were said, that's how that stuff festers. And then when it's getting and when it's ready to erupt, it's all she wrote.
Exactly. You're right. Exactly. Exactly. Nobody, we don't want to be disrespected. Who you think you are? Especially now, we as women, we have evolved. We working harder than you, making more than you, and you living in my house. Oh what?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I got your bitch.
And then you think you could call me out my name? Yeah.
I got your bitch. Hold up. Let me show you something.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I most definitely know about that one personally.
Right. So, different words. And I mean, the way, I can remember, when my son was younger, and I remember I had took his phone for something, and I think he had said something to some girl, and I looked like, boy, what's wrong with you? You can't be saying that. He was like, well, you should have heard what she said to me. And when he showed me what was said in the text, I was like, whew. I was like, y'all shouldn't be talking like this. But they had to get it from somewhere, okay? Right. Somewhere it comes from. Rather it be the TV, social media. Social media plays a big role in the way our lives are ran today. It's easier accessible.
Well, I know.
Back in the day.
I need to apologize to my kids because I know. I need to really apologize to my kids because, they grew up in a household with a lot of verbal abuse between him and I, not to them, but to him and I. They grew up with a lot of that. So, and now that we're no longer together, they be like, they championed the fact that we are no longer together because for the most part back then we were toxic together. But, for whatever reason, we call ourselves sticking in convenience wise or what have you. But
many times, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Many times, we know we want a nuclear intact family. We want a family that's intact, and we feel like we had a baby with this person. Let's stick together. My father was or was not in my life, and I want to be a good parent. I want to have a 2-parent household. And sometimes when we get in relationships, we're in a relationship. Sure, we done had a baby, but we're not meant to be together. We're toxic to one another. And I can definitely relate to that. Even being married, it just wasn't the right person. Yeah, we had babies, we were married, but sometimes we got to put the brakes on and say, whoa, wait a minute, you know what? And we think because we had a baby with this person that we have to stick it out and stay together. And I'm not advocating for people not to if they can, but if we're not going to do it and be healthy to one another, because what we say and do impacts our children.
Absolutely.
It definitely impacts our children in one way, or another. And then it not only that, it teaches them how to respond in relationships. And then we have to, when they start getting in relationships, we have to kind of help, navigate that relationship because of how the things that they may have observed from us.
Yeah.
And now they're arguing, they're calling their mate a bitch and this and that and saying different things, and it's like, what? And you know what? Even when my son was younger, when he had that incident, he was like, Mommy, he said, the women, when I did what you told me, which was to be respectful to the young lady, he said, they don't respect you. He said, these women out here want that. They don't want a man that's respectful. He said, they want somebody that's calling them out their name, that's not being nice to them. And then they think they could take advantage of them. And I've heard people say, many times, like, oh, no, that's going to make me feel like I'm a punk. I'm a punk now. But, I say this, you a punk that's not in jail. You a punk that don't have a domestic violence record.
A felony.
Exactly. We just got to learn. We got to do better. Everybody, all of us.
Well, you know what? The gentleman who attends your sessions, I give it up to them, because I know that has to be hard for them to come to grips with themselves and say, hopefully it ain't all court mandated. They have to come to themselves and say, hey, I need help. And then they get to talk about either what's going on with them, where it's them as the aggressor, or what it looks like when the female is the aggressor, or if it's a same sex type relationship, who's the aggressor between the two, and to figure out what that looks like and how to avoid it if necessary. Like you said, if they ready to leave, let them leave and cool off, and then come back. Look, I can talk like I know something now. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, but these are just tools, and I say sometimes they sound like, that ain't gonna work. That's not right. That's not gonna happen. Come on. But you have to try it first. You have to try it and see. But you have to have the willing to work at it. It can't be one-sided,
That's true.
But the basic thing that a lot of people don't know, when most people think of domestic violence, they think of just physical abuse. That's it. They don't think of all the other things. I've had people who had all 5 abuses and not the physical.
Wow.
But they were not physically abusive to their mate, but they were very controlling. And that's the key word there, being controlling, maintaining power and control. So it's about that power and control over somebody. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the biggest thing to know. When somebody is using one of these things to maintain power and control over you, that's what we have to be clear about.
I want to touch on financial abuse. Now,
financial,
that one right there. I wasn't even thinking about that at first, and then one day I think I was doing some research, and I saw that financial abuse was on there. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, you had sometimes men, especially, or it could be women today. I should. That's the one thing I'll say. I have to be a little more clear about is that, it's like we were making the men be accountable, but they were like, I'm in these classes, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But when I try to talk to my wife, then she's like, oh, I don't want to hear that. You should have did what you did to me. And so I say you have to consider if that's someone you could work with or not work with. Are they, because if you want someone to meet you halfway. Being financially abusive, you don't want your significant other to hold a job. You have total access to their money. Like if someone, let's just say, directly deposited into an account that the other person does not have access to, you're making your significant other, she always got to beg and ask for money. Even the stuff like, just having everything in one person's name. That's crazy. Yeah, like things of that nature. Financially, I mean, like I said, I could probably talk about each of these in depth, like have a whole class on a whole session, should say, on each of the types of abuses because, I mean, in physical, it's probably the easiest one I could probably get through because it's not until you break down each of the definitions and give examples of them that people realize, wow, I didn't know.
Right.
Especially sexually.
Never thought about that one.
Yeah, like sexually abusive. How people might say something like, if you don't give me some, another one will. What?
What? Are you, wait. Are you telling me? Oh, my goodness.
Because most people think of it as just being forcing themselves on someone.
I would have never thought that, but oh my goodness. So when he tells me, if you don't do this, somebody else will, or, the only reason why I did this is because you wouldn't do that. That's my goodness.
To tell somebody that, like, what? Because the thing here is, like, even if let's say they want you to wear something like a certain negligee or wear something particular. It's not abuse until one person opposes it. But if you down with it and your man down with it, then hey, by all means, it's all green. You got the green light. But if you're forcing someone to do something they don't want to do, then that's something that has to be talked about. And it could be, some people have, suffered sexual trauma in their life or sexual abuse, and they haven't, healed from it. Therefore, some of these things they may not feel comfortable with doing. But like I say, if both people are willing, then have at it. But if one person say, people can say some stuff. People can be real manipulative in how they, get things or how they want things, or to remind you of something like, oh, my ex-wife or my ex-girlfriend did this, and that. Okay, well, you need to be with them, and people have to be careful what they say and how they say it, because that can have impact. Shoot,
absolutely.
I was in a marriage with a serial cheater. Okay, a serial cheater. I never thought I had to thought about that later.
Oh my goodness!
He got caught in a situation where it was just like I was like, okay, you know what? Today it stops today, and they had the nerve to look at me and let me tell you what they told me. I found someone I could be faithful to.
What? Oh my goodness! What?
That's what I said. What? What? This is like you done cheated 20-some years, and that's what you gonna say to me? And
I done found somebody that I can be faithful. Ooh wee! Now see, that's when I probably would have turned red. Like what? Oh my God! But you know what? They do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That's oh my God, that's crazy. I remember somebody told me, well, the reason why I messed with so-and-so is because you wouldn't wear no lingerie and they would. So that's why, I was messing with them. And I was like, wow, okay. Mm-hmm. And, of course, my response was, well, you go ahead and fuck her ant face looking ass. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We keep it real here.
I mean, absolutely. She looked like a little ant. She had a little small little nose, and she was not attractive, but I guess she looked good in lingerie.
Well, I mean, he was someone that she could, she could manipulate, and like I say, I don't even know. Sometimes I wonder with the stuff I hear on a daily basis. I'm like, are there any healthy relationships out here?
Probably are very few.
Mm-hmm. And I get it. When we're young, we all kind of experiment in some things until we learn better and realize that, oh, that's not even worth it, But another thing I want to hit on is, like I tell people, they like, she lied on me. And I say, yeah, I get it. And, I explain to them, I said, you're here because you were emotionally abusive. And they're like, what do you mean? Well, you cheated on her. And that was a form of betrayal. And somebody, especially when you're not honest with someone, you're not honest in terms of telling them that you're with someone else or this person feels like they're in a committed relationship with you. But he may not have been open enough to say, that's what I don't want to be in a committed relationship. He has her thinking that, hey, we committed to one another, but he committed to her and some more other people, And so that might be where sometimes women may call and lie and say he hit me, because they know if you say he cheated on me, you're not going to jail for that. But that pain that a woman feels from a person cheating on them, that's like, hey, you know what?
That emotional scar is no joke.
Right. And I'm not in no way, shape, or form like justifying anybody doing that. Let me just be clear. But go ahead.
Men operate different from women a lot of times. a lot of women are very, very emotional. So if you keep picking at a sore that's been scarred over, that wound is going to open up again, and hell has no fury, because that's when some women will become vindictive enough to lie and to accuse some men for some things. I'm not saying that all men lie and they don't do anything abusive to a woman, but you do have some that actually do not do anything that warrants them to go to jail.
Right.
Wow. That.
Yeah, I mean,
Ooh.
I have heard people say, I lied on him, girl, because he cheated. He got me dead. And, we as women, we had the mothers and the grandmothers, they tried to teach us some things. And, some things don't always seem fair. Because I know the one saying I used to and I still to this day don't like it. A woman can't do what a man do. In other words, a man could be out here cheating, doing this, doing that, and the woman, you need to stay home and still, uphold your home and uphold being a lady and things of that nature. And it's like, I'm like, wait a minute, he could go. But I realized the advantage to that statement is your children will probably be better, because one thing for sure, when we want to do something, we do something because we choose, versus, he did this to me, so I'm going to stoop to his level. So we got to stop stooping to our levels and hold, ourselves up in higher esteem as women. And I think sometimes as women, we don't esteem one another like we should. And we need to be
Absolutely.
more honest. Like if we see something, we need to tell people what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. Especially,
that's true. And then you find a lot of people that commiserate with people, and that does not make it any better.
Not at all. And it just keeps going on and on and on.
Because I'm one. I commiserate with your ass for real. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but hey,
oh my goodness.
Sometimes
it's real.
It's real. It's very real. Let me tell you, it's very real. Knowledge is power again. And once we kind of think back, let this conversation marinate, we can be like, whoa, you know what? It all starts with us and how we feel about ourselves, too. Because sometimes we stay in relationships, we outstay our welcome. Ian Levenzette says it best. We outstay our welcomes in some of these relationships. We overstay our welcome and be in something much longer than we should be. And it's true when they say we teach people how to treat us. And when we let things go and we don't address it, then they think they got us.
Oh, yeah. I'm that overdue library book.
Yeah.
I'm her. I'm her.
I'm her, too.
I stayed too long, entirely too long.
I'm her, too.
No, I don't stay long enough.
And I'm her, and there's a lot of other hers out there who overstay their welcome in relationships because, well, that's my children's father. Well, he doesn't hit me because, like I say, sometimes people are okay, or the other, I'll say, silent, abuses. So it's kind of like, well, I'm not getting no black eye. I'm not going to, work every day with bruises and this and that, so you think that it's okay, and it's not. And, we as women, we're dying on the inside from that emotional and
that abuse
mental
is
abuse.
No joke.
Yes.
And that sexual abuse. No, let me stop. Oh,
I'm gonna do the whole session on that.
I'm so ready, because I most definitely learned something today, really. And it's not often that somebody can teach me something, but I absolutely did learn something. Oh,
and we couldn't expound on them.
And we most definitely need those nuggets. Oh, wow. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So enlightening.
My pleasure.
As women, if we can talk about some things, sometimes we can heal, and then sometimes we can't. But what I did learn out of this is that I'm a true aggressor and I need help. All right. Well, we have come to the end of this week's episode. I want to first thank you for listening to the insanity that crosses our minds. To those who partake and entertain in my conversations, without you, there will be no hanging out with Hayzel. To Platinum Way Ray and Mac of the Tracks, we're looking out for my dope beat. And last but not least, shout out to my other half for making this possible. Because at the end of the day, she is I and I am her. If you thought this show was interesting, be sure to tune in to next week's episode and tell a friend. Support the movement. All things Hayzel Green. Find my books on Amazon.com. Follow, listen, and like at HayzelGreen.com. Hayzel Green on Facebook and Hayzel Green 216 on IG. 2 fingers. And I'm out.